Every Pokemon has an ability, a bonus mechanic that makes Pokemon more unique. They usually make sense for the Pokemon's general vibe, like allowing floating Pokemon to not be hit by ground moves or making it more attractive. In Generation 5, Pokemon introduced hidden abilities. These are brand new abilities for each Pokemon that replace their previous one. What makes these abilities so hidden though? Well, in Black and White 2, most hidden abilities are literally impossible to get. I would question why Game Freak would develop a new mechanic that only certain Pokemon get to participate in, but that's kinda their whole thing. Regardless, I'm going to seek out these hidden abilities by playing a hardcore Nuzlocke of White 2, and each Pokemon I catch, I will change the ability to be their hidden ability. This will make some Pokemon much better and make others much, much, much worse. But I got to try out some absolutely wacky strategies that you would never get to use in a normal playthrough. This begins immediately, as our starter options no longer have their normal abilities. Tepig's hidden ability is Thick Fat, having the damage from fire and ice moves. This is pretty unhelpful, so I rule Tepig out right away. Oshawott gets Shell Armor, which prevents critical hits. This is great for a Nuzlocke, but it's not that fun. So I ultimately go with Snivy, who has the ability Contrary. Instead of getting stats lowered, Contrary increases the stat, and vice versa. So instead of getting my defense lowered from Tail Whip, it actually increases. This is a great ability, and also may lead to some pretty interesting strats. This is also good because I'm playing with a Hardcore Plus rule set. The normal Hardcore Nuzlocke rules are in play. No items, level caps, and set mode. But additionally, I don't get any EVs, and I'm not allowed to use any setup moves. Basically, any moves that increase my own stats. Contrary is a great ability because it's the only way I can increase my stats without breaking the rules. I receive my Pokeballs, and I can begin catching my encounters. First, I find a Purloin, which has the hidden ability Prankster. This Pokemon's about to go viral on TikTok for throwing milk on the floor or something. This ability gives all status moves increased priority. Although Prankster is more helpful in VGC rather than a Nuzlocke, it's still a fine ability, but you have to compare it to the ability Purloin could have had, and honestly, those abilities are good too. Next, I catch a Seawaddle, whose hidden ability Overcoat is pretty specific to weather and not that helpful. I also catch a Lillipup with Runaway, which has almost no use and is way worse than its other ability Vital Spirit. None of these abilities are particularly helpful against the first gym leader Cheren, whose team is honestly kind of unfair, especially in challenge mode. Contrarian would be ready to turn stat lowering into stat gaining, but Cheren only raises his own stats with Workup, forcing Contrarian to take out Patrat without any stat buffs. Lillipup is by far the most difficult part of Cheren's team. I get a Leer in before switching to my tankiest Pokemon, Overcoated. Lillipup is now going for Workups, which is very scary, but I land a Bug Bite, which does just over half and also eats its Oranberry. I tank a Tackle, and things are looking rosy here, but then I miss the range on Lillipup. Cheren heals up, and I bring it back down, but now Overcoated is dead to the next Tackle. Nobody on my team is safe, so I pretty much have to sacrifice someone. I decide to let Prankster go, and bring in Contrarian to outspeed and kill Lillipup. Pidove goes down as well, so we get the win with only one loss, but no hidden abilities have been helpful so far. Let me know what your favorite Pokemon ability is in the comments, whether that's a hidden ability or just a regular one. My favorite ability will be listed in the pinned comment. While you're checking that out, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all the Pokemon content your heart desires. After I get to Virbank City, I get one more encounter before the next gym. In the Virbank complex, I opt for an inner encounter, and there I find Magnemite. Magnemite has the ability Analytic, which increases damage output by moving last. This is a wonderful hidden ability, as the Magnemite line has low base speed, giving me 30% extra power for free. Snivy evolves into Servine, keeping the same ability it had before, but that's not always the case. Lillipup evolves into Herdier, where it changes from Runaway to Scrappy, an ability that allows normal type moves to hit ghost Pokemon, and that's really great. So I have a Scrappy dog that fights ghosts. Where have I heard of that before? For the first time, a hidden ability will actually be helpful against the second gym leader, Roxy. Magnemite is already a great option for this fight because of its steel typing. It's faster than Coughing, so it doesn't get the analytic boost, but it still 1v1s no problem. I bring Scrapper in to do some damage on Grimer before Analytical lands the final blow. Against Whirlipede, Analytic goes second, so Thundershock does some extra damage. This lets Magnemite 1v1 Whirlipede, and we get the second badge with no issues. Afterwards, we have the mandatory Pokestar Studios stuff, which I'm just now realizing takes place on a green screen. Riolu, use Force Palm. Ryan Reynolds Pikachu, stop dancing! We take the boat to Castelia City, where I get a few more encounters, including Zubat in the sewers and Petilil in the garden. Zubat's Infiltrator ignores Reflect and Light Screen, which is pretty niche, as is Petilil's Leaf Guard, preventing status conditions in the sun. Both are probably worse than their original abilities. However, I also find a Drillbur in the Relic Passage, and this thing has a much better hidden ability. Rather than getting stat boosts in sand, Drillbur gets Mold Breaker, which ignores the opponent's ability. I can definitely find some uses for this. Berg is next, and he's basically the easiest gym leader of all time. Drillbur doesn't even need to break any molds to take out Dwebble, and Golbat can one-shot Leaveney thanks to its 4x weakness to flying. Carablast and Shelmet also get knocked out, and the third badge is ours. This is the end of the easy gyms though, and we're going to rely on our hidden abilities to defeat the upcoming gyms. Heading north to Route 4, I find Darumaka as my encounter. This Pokemon has a very interesting ability when it evolves, but for now, it only has Inner Focus. Still better than Hustle, which is one of the worst abilities for Nuzlocke. In the Desert Resort, I catch a Sandshrew with Sand Rush, a niche ability, but just as niche as its original Sand Veil, although increasing speed is better than raising evasion. The first Pokemon I find in the Relic Castle is a Yamask, but Yamask actually doesn't have a hidden ability. It only has Mummy. So I re-roll my encounter, and this time I get Sandile. Sandile normally gets either Intimidate or Moxie, two absolutely amazing abilities that either increase attack or lower the opponent's attack. In comparison, its hidden ability isn't as good. Anger Point maxes your attack if your opponent lands a critical hit. This is pretty luck-based, and therefore isn't something you can reasonably rely on. Right? I also find a Reuniclus with Regenerator, a great ability that heals it when switched out. I also find a Minccino with Skill Link, which sounds more like a Nintendo DS feature than it does a Pokemon's ability, especially one that ensures 5 hits on multi-hit moves. Sorry, but why is that called Skill Link? I straight up don't understand. I also find a male Combee, which is hilariously bad since it can't evolve, but its hidden ability is Hustle. This may be the worst Pokemon of all time. It's so bad that it's not even worth the Pokeball I'd have to use to catch it. Linker is who I send out first against the 4th gym leader, Elisa, but not because of its hidden ability, more about its moveset. Elisa sends out Emolga, who goes for its highest damage move in Aerial Ace. I then go for Encore. This prevents Emolga from switching out with Volt Switch, because I'm about to force this Emolga to do the stupidest thing I've ever come up with. Emolga is forced to use Aerial Ace now, and I start going for Charm. This lowers Emolga's attack by 2 stages, allowing me to take less damage every turn and use Charm 3 times. When Encore ends, I can switch to Breaker. Emolga still can't use Volt Switch because of Breaker's ground type, so it's stuck in battle at -6 attack, doing no damage. I then begin to use the move Dig. Yes, I'm using Dig on a flying Pokemon, but why the hell hell would I be doing that? I'm obviously doing 0 damage, and yeah, that's the point. By letting Emolga sit here, it's wasting all of its Aerial Ace PP. Eventually, Emolga starts going for Quick Attack, so I know I've successfully PP stalled it out of Aerial Aces. Now, for the final part of my plan. I switch to Angry Boy, who's still a ground type, so all Emolga can do is Pursuit and Quick Attack. These do no damage, and I stay healthy with leftovers. I'll just sit in battle while Emolga attacks me, eventually waiting to get a critical hit, which triggers my anger point and brings me to +6 attack. The crit did lower my health a lot, but I can heal myself up by going for Dig, using the underground turn to get extra health back. And now I'm back to full health. I can now one-shot Emolga with Crunch, one-shot Joltik with Dig, one-shot Flaffy with Dig, and why not, one-shot Zebstrika with Dig. Was that the safest or easiest strategy? Of course not. But was it fun? Oh, hell yeah, it was. On the Driftvale Drawbridge, I get a mandatory Ducklet encounter, and she has the ability Hydration, which prevents status conditions in the rain. Not that useful. In the city, I can get the free Zorua, or I could if Zorua got another ability besides Illusion. Illusion is kind of its whole gimmick, and without a hidden ability, I cannot accept this Pokemon. I also have a fun hidden ability strategy against the 5th gym leader, Clay. He starts with Krokorok, and I send out Contrarian. Usually this fight starts with an attack nerf from Intimidate, but with Serperior, I get an attack buff. With the physical attack Leaf Blade and super effective against the ground type Pokemon, I can one-hit KO Krokorok. Onix is out next, and I would be able to one-shot if not for the ability Sturdy. For this reason, I begin with Leech Seed to break the Sturdy. Onix goes for a weak Rock Slide, and I opt for Mega Drain instead of Leaf Blade. This still kills Onix, and I get all my health back. I outspeed and one-hit KO Sandslash, and now I see Clay's final Pokemon, Excadrill. Thanks to the attack buff, Leaf Blade looks like a 2-hit KO after the Citrus Berry. Clay goes for a Bulldoze though, which lowers my speed. Oh, nope, it actually raises it. I can take out Excadrill, and one of the hardest gyms in the game is completed with ease. I continue north to the Mistralton Cave, where I get Aaron as my encounter. This gets Heavy Metal as its hidden ability, which doubles its weight. This may seem inconsequential now, but let's check back in when this becomes an Aggron. I also find a Joltik in the Chargestone Cave, but it just has the Swarm hidden ability, which is very common as a regular ability, so nothing special here. Finally, I round out the team with the Zebstrika, which has the ability Sap Sipper. This increases its attack if it's hit by a grass move, which again is niche, and I would have to manufacture a perfect situation to get this to happen. So I decide to manufacture the perfect situation to get this to happen, and I do it against the next gym leader, Skyla. But before the fight, I actually get Angry Boy down to a low HP, and send it out against Skyla's first Pokemon, Swoobat. Swoobat knows 4 moves: Psychic, Acrobatics, Attract, and Energy Ball, and it only sees a kill with one of those. So I switch to Sap Sipper as Swoobat goes for, you guessed it, Energy Ball, doing no damage and increasing my attack by 1 stage. Unfortunately, the best physical electric move that Zebstrika can learn is Spark, and even at +1 attack, Discharge does more damage. Swoobat Psychic does a lot of damage, but I kill with Discharge. It's unfortunate that Swoobat outsped Zebstrika there, because Zebstrika would normally be faster, but mine is a minus speed nature. It also means that it's slower than Swanna when it normally isn't, so I take an extra Surf, almost killing me in the process. But I can retaliate with a 1-hit KO. Oh, the stupid things that I do to showcase something moderately cool. Skyla sends out Sigilyph, and we can finally see the benefit of the attack buff, as we get the kill on Sigilyph only because of the Sap Sipper switch-in. Finally, Skyla sends out Skarmory, and Zebstrika can't win here, so I send out Analytical, who can 1v1, and we get the 6th badge. Skyla takes us to Lentimus Town in a flying metal tube, and then I catch a flying metal tube. This knows weak armor, which decreases my defense but increases my speed when Skarmory gets hit with an attack. Any ability that increases stats is great in my book, especially in this challenge where I can't raise my own stats. After that, I catch a Litwick with Shadow Tag, a move that doesn't do much in Nuzlocke since the AI rarely switches out. I much prefer its other abilities, but oh well. I work my way through Reversal Mountain with Bianca and get to Undella Town, where I trounce my rival and also catch a Staryu that, for the second time, has Analytic as an ability. This instance of Analytic is worse than Magnezone, since Starmie is such a fast Pokemon. On Route 14, I can get another encounter, and I find Audino. This is why I've been avoiding Shaking Grass encounters so far. Audino has the hidden ability Klutz, which is horrible. And I don't mean that it's like worse than usual. No, this ability is actively bad. It causes the Pokemon to not be able to use held items, which is such an important aspect of Nuzlocke. I have no idea what compelled Game Freak to make a bad hidden ability. Like, why would anyone go out of their way to find one of these? I round out my encounters with an Absol that knows Justified, increasing attack if it's hit by a dark type move, and a Golduck with Swift Swim, increasing its speed in the rain. I can take on the 7th gym leader Drayden and his dragon types, but unfortunately I couldn't come up with the fun meme strategy for this fight. Drayden is super tough, and his dragons pack a serious punch. A missed blizzard range from Starmie led to its death, and Golduck fainted as well. The rest of my team gets the win though, and neither of the Pokemon I lost had amazing hidden abilities, so I'm not too upset. Team Galactic has turned the world into ice or whatever, so I used Darmanitan to destroy all the trainers in this section of the game. I find my way to Humalao City, and I have a quick turnaround to fight the final gym leader Marlin. My strategy for this fight is to use Lilligant, who if you recall has the ability Leaf Guard, preventing status conditions in the sun. This isn't really a big help, but I'm trying to showcase hidden abilities. And it means the water attacks from Marlin will be even weaker. Guardian takes out Wailord with a Giga Drain, and Mantine comes out next. Lilligant struggles against the flying type, so I switch to Analytical, who hits through confusion with Volt Switch. This is 4 times effective and kills Mantine, and also gives me a switch out. Marlin has no more flying types, so I bring Lilligant back in. Marlin sends out Caracosta, which is very weak to grass attacks, but does have Sturdy. I take 1 Rock Slide before knocking out Caracosta with a final Giga Drain. Against Jellicent, I try to put it to sleep, but I miss, and get hit with a powerful Shadow Ball. I'm not that attached to Lilligant, so I go for it again and miss again. Pretty unlucky there, but it happens. Serperior comes in and wins the fight, and now we've got all 8 badges with just 4 deaths across the run. Not too shabby. None of the fights in the Plasma Frigate give me any trouble until I head to the Giant Chasm to take on Ghetsis. He's playing Pokemon Infinite Fusion 10 years before anyone else, but I take out his monstrosity with Excadrill. Now I need to take on the Madman himself. He starts with Cofagrigus, and I have Breaker out since it could handle Kyurem, but now I need to switch to Absol. Absol lands a solid Night Slash, but the Justified ability turns into Mummy. Getting Toxic is fine, since Absol can take out the Ghost shortly after. Drapion is next, and Skarmory is a great switch-in, as it takes no damage and gets a speed increase. Skarmory wins the 1v1 with a few flies. Next out is Electros, a Pokemon with no weaknesses thanks to its Levitate ability. I'm scared of Flamethrower, so I sacrifice Weak Arm to bring in Excadrill, whose Mold Breaker ability allows it to ignore the opponent's ability. This means I can hit Electros with an Earthquake, taking it down in just 1 hit. Seismitoad gets taken out by Serperior, Toxicroak goes down to Earthquake, and again, I ignore Levitate to take out Hydreigon with Earthquake. We get the win over Ghetsis. But like a couple fighting on a hike, we're not out of the woods yet, babe. The Unova Victory Road is tough, and I actually lose a couple of Pokemon. I forget that my Galvantula is a -speed nature, and I get killed by a lower level Galvantula. And I lose both Crobat and Swanna to the final rival fight of the game. These losses aren't that bad, as these Pokemon wouldn't end up coming to the Elite Four anyway. On the way there, I catch a Gligar, whose hidden ability Poison Heal does exactly what it sounds like. Heals you when you're poisoned rather than hurts you. This ability is so so unbelievably good, but you'll have to wait and see how good it can be. Even with the additional rules that I've added, I still have a wide variety of Pokemon alive. So the Elite Four actually would be pretty simple. But this whole video is about showcasing Pokemon's hidden abilities and finding unique strategies to take on these battles. So rather than going for the safe, boring, calculated Elite Four, let's try to do some fun, different stuff. We can take on the Elite Four in any order we want to. So let's begin with Chantal and her ghosts. Chandelure is a beast, and outspeeds and one-hit KOs both Cofagrigus and Golurk with Shadow Ball. Chandelure is slower than Drifblim, but luckily does not get crit from Shadow Ball, and responds with its own Shadow Ball that kills. Chandelure then outspeeds to kill Banette, and we see Chantal's final Pokemon, her own Chandelure. Despite being a higher level, we're slower because her Candelabra is holding a Choice Scarf, which increases its speed. But the downside is that it locks the Pokemon into whatever move they use first. And with my Ghost type out, I'm hoping the move it clicks is Shadow Ball, so I switch into my normal type, Stoutland. Of course, she goes for Psychic instead, kind of ruining my plan. You see, I only gave Stoutland 2 moves, Protect and Last Resort. Last Resort is a base 150 damaging move, but only works when you've used every other move that you know. So I just need to use Protect once, and now I'm free to use Last Resort. But against the Ghost type Chandelure, it wouldn't hit anyway. Normally, you'd be correct, but remember that this Pokemon has the hidden ability Scrappy, which allows it to hit ghosts with normal type moves. If Chandelure had locked into Shadow Ball, we would have gotten a free win. But alas, not the case here. Jellicent can tank Psychics to end the fight, and we got a little hidden ability action there. For loads of hidden ability action though, let's take on Marshall next. This dude always gives me trouble, but that's because I've never had a Poison Heal Gliscor before. Prior to walking into the Elite Four, I gave Gliscor the Poison status. Not only is this great because it heals me every turn without an item, but it prevents me from getting another status condition, something that can be a sneaky run killer for Elite Fours. Against Throw, I begin with a Stealth Rock that will be helpful later, because Throw can't do much damage to me. Poison Heal doesn't get me back to full health, but by using Protect every other turn, I get free healing. Without the burden of an item, I can use Acrobatics to its full power, landing the 110 base power flying move to do massive damage to the super tanky Throw. After another healing turn, I can take out Marshall's first Pokemon. I can take out Conkeldurr in one hit thanks to a crit, and Lucario in 2 hits, taking no damage thanks to it using Calm Mind, giving me a super free kill. Fourth, we see Mienshao, and even though I'm at full health, I decide to go for Protect. That's because I'm hoping Mienshao goes for High Jump Kick, and if I'm protecting myself, the move misses and Mienshao takes recoil damage. Then I can kill it with Acrobatics and force out Marshall's Sock, which takes Stealth Rock damage, breaking its Sturdy ability. This allows Gliscor to one-hit KO with Acrobatics, leading to the easiest Marshall fight I've ever had. Third, I'm taking on Caitlyn and her Psychic types. Chandelure can outspeed and one-hit KO Musharna, but can't do that to Sigilyph. Thankfully, Magnezone is a great counter. Normally, if I'm slower, I'll go for Thunder Wave, but here it's actually more beneficial to stay slower, so I can get the damage boost from Analytic, which helps me kill Sigilyph in one shot. Reuniclus comes out next because of its move Focus Blast, but Magnezone and Chandelure have great synergy, as I can go back to the Ghost Pokemon for free. I can now one-shot both Reuniclus and Gothitelle with Shadow Ball. On Caitlyn's final Pokemon, Shadow Ball can't quite kill Metagross, but I survive its Zen Headbutt. Here's where I jump the gun too fast, locking into my move before really thinking about it. Metagross knows Bullet Punch, a priority move that kills She's It. Gliscor can take out Metagross, but a really rash decision has me down a Pokemon earlier than expected. The good news is that Chandelure wouldn't be that helpful against the final Elite Four member Grimsley. For this, I send out my Aggron, who seems like an odd choice against the Dark-type team. Recall that Aggron has the ability Heavy Metal, which doubles its weight. Although that may seem like a useless ability, here is where I can use it to my advantage. Aggron learns the move Heavy Slam, a move that does more damage if the user outweighs the opponent. And now, Aggron is much heavier than its opponents. It completely tanks the Night Slash from Liepard and responds with a devastating Heavy Slam. Next out is Krookodile, who is faster than me and sees a kill with Earthquake, a move that Metalhead is 4 times weak to. But I still plan to take out Krookodile with Metalhead, and I'll do that by playing a fun game of Switchy Switchy Protect Stall. As Krookodile locks into Earthquake, I switch to Glysaur, a flying type Pokemon that can't be hit by ground moves. Then I switch back, getting hit by one of Krookodile's other moves, all of which do basically no damage to the physical tank. I even have leftovers to stay perfectly healthy. I do this over and over, slowly using up all of the Earthquake PP. If Krookodile goes for Crunch instead of Rock Tomb, I can Protect, wasting another Earthquake PP and getting back to full health. I can use Protect to make sure all 10 Earthquake PP have been used. And when Krookodile goes for Crunch against Aggron, I know I'm safe. 2 Heavy Slams can take out the Croc, and we have a similar issue against Scraggy, who also knows a 4 times effective move in Brick Break. But once again, we can PP stall, using the Ghost-type Jellicent to take no damage from Brick Break, and switching back to Aggron on the physical moves. Brick Break has a bit more PP and also does more damage with its crunches, so I have to use more Protects to stay healthy. Eventually though, it runs out of PP, and 2 Heavy Slams take out Scraggy. Bisharp is out next, and even though it doesn't know any super effective moves, it still does a fair bit of damage, leading to Aggron being low health when it goes down. Finally, we see Absol. I fear it might go for Swords Dance, so I opt to not Protect, and I make the right call, but Heavy Slam barely doesn't kill. I could take it out now, but Absol lands a crit Night Slash, which actually kills Metalhead. I did not expect that to kill. Glysaur cleans up the fight again, but now we're down 2 Pokemon, and both deaths probably could have been prevented. This is going to make the champion fight extremely intense. Iris has a diverse team, but as a prior Dragon Gym leader, this type is her preference, and she starts that way, sending out Hydreigon. I send out Jellicent, who is slower than the dragon, but lives 2 Dragon Pulses. I respond with Ice Beam, and get a lucky freeze. Hydreigon doesn't thaw, and we get to keep some extra health as we take out the first Pokemon. Second, Iris sends out Lapras, and I send out Analytical on the expected Thunder. However, now Iris gets the secondary effect, paralyzing Magnezone. Analytical then gets fully paralyzed 3 turns in a row, meaning I cannot do a single thing to Lapras. Absolutely insane unluckiness there. At low health and paralyzed, Magnezone is useless, so I let Lapras kill it and bring out Stoutland. I use the Protect and Last Resort strategy to 1v1 Lapras. Next out is Druddigon, which is great because I get a free switch to Jellicent on Focus Blast. Ice Beam doesn't kill though, and the following Thunder Punch does just enough to take me out. Gliscor outspeeds Druddigon for the kill, and Iris brings in her Aggron next. With just Acrobatics and Toxic to deal damage, Poison Healer is a bad matchup, but my only other alive Pokemon only has a normal type move. So either way I cut it, things look bad. Stoutland can't take out Aggron, so it's all up to Gliscor. But with Acrobatics doing so little and Head Smash doing so much, it's just a matter of time before I lose. Until I realize that Head Smash only has 5 PP, so it can be easily stalled with Protect. Now Aggron is going for Double Edge, which does way less damage. Using my Poison Heal and protecting every other turn, I actually may be able to stall it out of Double Edges. I try this for a bit and find some success, but I'm running out of Protects. But then Aggron starts going for Automize because he can no longer deal damage to me. His 4th attack is Earthquake, which doesn't affect me. But with only 5 Acrobatics left, I can't kill this and then kill the other team remembers. So I start wasting all of my Stealth Rock PP just waiting for Aggron to run out of all of its moves, all of its automizes, and all of its earthquakes. What a fun battle this turned into. Eventually, it runs out and has to start using Struggle. By the time it kills itself with Struggle, I'm at full health, but only have 5 Acrobatics and 4 Toxics. Haxorus goes for Dragon Dance, and Acrobatics will actually be a 2-hit KO. Unfortunately though, it goes for Outrage instead of dancing again, so I take a ton of damage before killing it with Acrobatics. Against all odds, I've made it to Iris's final Pokemon, Archeops. Stealth Rock damage helps me, and all I need to do is outlast this dino. But because I was at low health from Outrage, Archeops outspeeds and kills with Stone Edge. Despite a few mistakes and some horrible luck in the champion fight, I almost got the win. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching a Nuzlocke using different abilities than you're used to seeing. I had an absolute blast trying out some new strategies. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more of this Pokemon content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.